All right, so we're going to pick up from where we were 2 weeks ago, I think. Was it 2 weeks ago? Were we in the park 2 weeks ago, or were we at Radiant? I don't know. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And there was this idea that I talked about. I talked about three transcendentals. There's an idea that there are universal truths wired into the universe, and we all can find those. We all connect with those. And it kind of happens innately. It's something that we all recognize. We realize that it's real, and it's good, it's lovely, and human beings ask these kinds of questions because about beauty and goodness and all that. We ask these kinds of questions because we universally long for at least these three things: truth, goodness, and beauty. And those are all things that I want in my life regularly. I want truth in my life, so I don't have to make a bunch of mistakes. It's terrible making mistakes and having to suffer through that mistake and the consequences, the repercussions of that mistake. And I want as much goodness in my life as possible. I don't know about you guys, but you can keep the bad and give me the good, and then that will be just fine with me. And then beauty. I complain sometimes about I complain to my wife sometimes about things that I have an eye for aesthetic, and I love things that are beautiful and aesthetic, and when things start to get cluttered and gross and broken and run down, it's like it just makes me feel dirty. It makes me feel like I'm not living my best life. And we all connect with beauty innately. I don't know if you've ever been to Yosemite, but I remember going for the first time and just looking around and thinking, this is incredible. This is incredibly beautiful. The majesty, it is so majestic. It's awe-inspiring, it's divine, and it's definitely transcendent. These truths are real. They're wired into the universe, and we all essentially connect with them. They are definitely things that these transcendentals, they definitely shine through time and across cultures and languages and barriers. These transcendentals that we're talking about them because they're powerful. They connect us all in experience together. I don't know if you've ever been maybe you've been in a large group of people, like say 10,000 people. And or maybe you've seen a video. I saw a video not too long ago where it was a song that everybody knows, and the band started the song and then they just stopped singing, and the crowd sang the rest of the song, and there must have been 50, 60, 70,000 people out there, and it was just this chorus of humanity, and it was just an incredible thing to see how connecting it was, how powerful it was. These ideas of truth, beauty, and goodness, they connect us together, especially when we experience them together. And spirituality is that way in many ways. And in our broken culture, we need something that can cut through the rhetoric, do we not? There's a lot of nonsense that happens. We get overwhelmed by it sometimes through social media and just things that happen in the world. There's a lot of nonsense, and we need something that is true and good and beautiful to cut through the politics and cut through the rhetoric and surpass all that's broken in this world. We need it to shine through, something that we can all live in and find peace with and find our joy. The thing I love about these transcendentals, truth, goodness, and beauty, is they kind of bypass our own rationality. They just kind of hit us a little bit different. I kind of get that way in worship sometimes. There's a way in worship and communing with people and communing with God at the same times that you can you don't even necessarily pay attention to the words. There's just something divine happening between you and the God of the universe. There's just a connection there. Music has a way of doing that, of ushering in that. And we need something to transcend all of these ugly things that are going on in the world. We need something to connect us all together again, with culture falling away and people's brokenness and lives being lost and the ugliness in our world. We need something to bring us together. And these three transcendentals. They are unarguable. They're unimpeachable. They cut through the noise and they flow right through our filter. When you experience beauty, when you see something beautiful, like I saw this morning, my kids got up early on their own to put together a little thing for Janie this morning on Mother's Day. And they got her gifts and did all of that. And I was like, you know what? That was beautiful. That was beautiful. An expression of their love and a recognition of all the hours that my wife has put into loving our children and leading them. And it was beautiful to see that. There was something transcendent about that experience this morning and being able to watch them and experience that with my family. The one I want to talk about, kind of highlight this week of these transcendentals, these three, is beauty. Beauty is powerful. It's a powerful force. Beauty is a powerful force that has the ability to transcend time, space, and culture. It's very interesting. I've been on this kick lately of watching. I've been watching a lot from the Greek and Roman area and the buildings that they would build and how they would go ahead and build these massive cathedrals and massive buildings that still exist today, thousands of years later. And you step in these buildings or you see them, and they are magnificent to see that humankind has done something that is beautiful, not like on our society. There's something amazing about the high-rise buildings that we build today that might go 100 stories or 200 or however tall they are, made out of steel and glass, and that it can be awe-inspiring to see something that large. I remember being in New York with Janie, and we went to the buildings that they built after the World Trade Center had come down, and we went there, and I was like, oh, that's cool, but it's nothing like. It's nothing like seeing some of these ancient structures that were built over decades and honed from rock that was brought in and marble that was brought in, and the things that they do, and then the architecture and sculpture. I remember being in New York also, and we see the glass and metal buildings, and that's interesting. But when we walk into some of these cathedrals that were these Gothic cathedrals, there was just something divine about them. It seemed as though it was man's attempt to express the awe and wonder of God in the art of building a building so ornate. And every little facet, every little arch, and every little swirl, and the paintings that were on the ceilings, and the carvings that were in the walls, there's something very transcendent about that beauty. And beauty is a powerful force that just has this ability to take us somewhere else. It's not only something that we can see or feel, but also something that we can experience at a spiritual level. I've been in many situations over the course of my life where I've been amongst people, and you see beautiful things happening when a crowd comes together, and you think, you know what, that's spiritual. The God of heaven is looking down on that and saying, this is amazing. This is my kingdom come. This is my will being done on earth as it is in heaven. So how is beauty transcendent? Well, what makes beauty feel transcendent is its ability to move us beyond ourselves and to connect us with something larger than ourselves. And when you go into places like Yellowstone, or you go to places like Yosemite, or you go to places like Rome, and you see these structures and these beautiful buildings or beauty of nature, you could feel very small but connected to something much larger than you actually are. And that really has this quality. It's what grows this quality of feeling that it is transcendent throughout time and throughout culture. And when we encounter something that we perceive as beautiful, it can evoke a sense of wonder in our lives. You know, I've looked at Yosemite, and I've sat there and just stared at, you know, the crevices and the rocks, and you start to wonder, like, what's this going to look like 1,000 years from now? You know, what did this look like 10,000 years ago or 20,000 years ago? What was God's intent when he made this for it to inspire us? And it will definitely evoke this sense of wonder and awe, and even a feeling of being transported to a different place of consciousness. You ever look at something beautiful? You ever see somebody go to an art museum and stare at a piece of art that is beautiful, and they just kind of lose track of time? It's almost like when you're doing something, maybe your favorite hobby and you're in that flow state, you're in that place, and you think, man, I'm really getting after it here, and you think you've been doing it for 15, 20, 30 minutes, and you look up and 4 hours have passed by because you got raptured by this idea or what was going on. Beauty has that way of doing that with us also. Beauty is often described as a spiritual experience, and it can be found in many different aspects of life, including nature, like I've talked about, and art. I wouldn't say I'm an art connoisseur, but there are definitely pieces of art that you can just stare at for a long time and wonder what was going on in the mind of the artist when they were making this piece of art. You can even find beauty in everyday interactions with other people. This is where, because I'm a people person, oftentimes I find beauty in the nature of relationship. I find beauty in the interactions we have right here in the park at Sunday Fun Day. I go away so jazzed. There are oftentimes I leave and I just want to have a meeting right after and tell all the stories and talk about the conversations that happen, because it's beautiful. There's something happening. You realize that God is doing something. Ultimately, though, the transcendent quality of beauty is what makes it so powerful and transformative. It can inspire us. It can uplift us when you see beautiful things. It can lead us to deeper understanding of ourselves and even the world around us that God has placed us in. So how is it that beauty can be understood by all of us across cultures and across time? How is it that we all just kind of get it? Well, from a Christian perspective, it seems as though beauty is often a reflection of God's creativity and goodness. And when we see that expressed in nature, and we see that expressed in music, and we see that expressed in art, because there is a source to all of humankind and everything that is in this universe. There is a source underpinning all of it, and it's kind of breaking free from the spiritual realm into the physical realm where we can perceive it happening. And it comes out as art, and it comes out as music, and it comes out as relationship, and it comes out as love, and it comes out in this creation around us that God has built. In Genesis, it's written that God created the world, and it says this: God created the world. It's a little egotistical, but it's okay. He's God, right? At the end of every day, it says God did this on day 1, 2, 3, 4, every day. And at the end of every day, it says that God saw that it was good. He saw that it was good. He looked at what he did and he said, that's beautiful. That is good. And it was indicating that God finds beauty and goodness in creation. He finds beauty and goodness in his creation. He also finds beauty and goodness in our creation as a reflection of him in our lives. Christian theology holds that human beings are made in the image of God, and we have the capacity to appreciate and to create beauty as a reflection of God's creativity. I think that's interesting. Not only can we absorb beauty, not only can we acknowledge beauty, but we have the capacity to create beauty because we are made in the image of God. I believe that's why it's innate. I believe that beauty, I want you to hear this, I believe that beauty is a portal into divinity. I believe that seeing beauty all around us and the good that God has brought into our universe and into our lives, I believe it's a portal that can transcend us to a divine place if we meditate and focus on that. There's beauty in everything. It's amazing. You can look into the heavens that far out and gargantuan, like billions of light years across, that we can't even see across the whole universe. And yet there's beauty in it. And then also, if we take a microscope and we drill down to the tiniest things all around us, it's amazing. Have you guys ever seen like a snowflake? It looks just floating down, right? But when you put a snowflake under a microscope, you see the beauty of the fractals that happen in every single one of those. And of all the snowflakes ever made, there have never been two that are identical. That's incredible. that God's beauty is all around us, the uniqueness of what God is doing and has been doing. If we look at beauty, I believe it is a portal. If we try to be observers of beauty and we try to find beauty in every situation, whether it's relational or spiritual or it's physical in the world around us, I believe it can be a portal that transcends us into the presence of God if we fix our mind and we fix our heart and our spirit on God by focusing on his beauty. I think that's what's so wonderful about it. I think that's what's so wonderful about being in the presence of beauty. It's like, yeah, God had something to do with this. I'm close to it. I imagine that when I get to go to Israel someday, I'm going to have this experience of walking the same trails. You know, the one thing that's amazing about Israel is when you go there, a lot of the trails that they walked are still roads that they walk today, that they walked 2,000 years ago and 3,000 years ago. And the reality is that you literally will be standing in the same physical space where Jesus Christ stood on this earth. And I want to do that. I think that's going to be that's a spiritually beautiful connection to the God of the universe and being in his presence and focusing on that. I believe it's a portal, again, to divinity. And if you're a nerd and you want to geek out a little bit, and it's like a back door in the source code. It's like a way to just kind of sneak into what's going on, what's underpinning all of this there. Now, the truth is, though, in life, this portal can be corrupted. This portal of beauty can be corrupted. And we've seen it happen in our society. We've seen it happen in our culture. So we must be careful. We recognize that our perception of beauty can also be corrupted by sin and brokenness in the world. And we can begin to elevate things that are not beautiful into a status of being beautiful, and they're not. They're actually an abomination. It's happening in our culture regularly. Our cultural preferences for certain physical attributes, such as thinness or height, can stem from societal pressures, which can be damaging. There is pressure from our society to focus on things that are not actually transcendent and beautiful, and take the moniker of beauty and to place it on that. There's a lot of ugliness that the world will call beauty, and the reality is we kind of feel a little cringe when that happens, because true beauty in these instances has been corrupted. The word has been corrupted. The idea has been corrupted. We should approach beauty with humility and with an openness to the transcendent and the divine. This means acknowledging that beauty, while it is an innate aspect of our humanity, ultimately, beauty belongs to God, and it can lead us closer to him. That's what I love about beauty. You know, when I see my kids doing something for my wife this morning to show their love, I realize that is a reflection of God in their life, that they are understanding that there is a value to human life of their mother. That they've been given much, and they want to honor to whom they've been given so much from. This means that we acknowledge beauty in the same way, and it can lead us closer to God when we do that. Christian spirituality teaches us that beauty is not just about appearance. Obviously, I can be beautiful even though I'm not physically beautiful. Thank you. Many of us agree with me, probably. Some of you even online. But spirituality and Christian spirituality teaches that beauty isn't just appearance, but it's also about the virtues of the heart. Even more so. Even more so. Such as love. Love is beautiful. If you've ever experienced love, which I hope most of us have, deep love, it's a beautiful thing. Another one is compassion. Having compassion on someone else. Compassion has this way of soothing when you realize that others are having compassion on you, or even when you get to give compassion, it connects you in a way. It's a beautiful thing. And forgiveness, you know, the idea of forgiveness has not been one that's been celebrated throughout human history. And as a matter of fact, it's interesting that Jesus' mission on this earth was to forgive us of sin, because I would say it was the most beautiful act that anyone could ever do in the history of mankind. To forgive people. Forgiving has a way of reconnecting, of building bridges and creating bonds where there was brokenness and fracture. Forgiveness is true beauty. These are the true markers of divine beauty that we are called to reflect in our own lives. So where else do we see beauty? We see beauty in the life and teachings of Jesus Christ and the art and architecture of churches and cathedrals. We've talked about that a little bit here. How about the stories of the lives of Christians? Jesus Christ is obviously the central figure in Christianity. He's seen as the fullest expression of God's beauty and of his love and of his mercy. When we look at Jesus, we can see a pure form of beauty in the cross, in the way that Jesus lived his life in service to mankind, in showing love and mercy to people who did not deserve love or mercy. Jesus' life and teachings are considered the ultimate example of how believers should live and to treat others. We should mimic those things. We should reflect that aspect of Jesus Christ in this world. Likewise, the lives of Christians, people like Mother Teresa, demonstrate the transformative power of God's love and beauty in the lives of other people, right? We know that there are people throughout history who have been so connected with the beauty of Jesus Christ and his forgiveness and giving love and showing grace and showing mercy, that we see an image of Jesus Christ in those people. Many of us, it's a family member, maybe a grandmother or a grandfather or a mother or a father, and we see that love that transcends time shown to us in a tangible way, and it feels really, really good. Overall, the Bible is a beautiful revelation of God's nature and of his character. The Bible displays God's love in many different ways, and it's a beautiful thing. It's powerful, it's creative. God's mercy and grace and justice are all nature, his character and his nature, and they show the beauty of what a life lived like that is. So how does this relate to all of us? How does this relate to you and I? It's just this, let's take this abstract idea of beauty and let's kind of land the plane a little bit. Let's bring it down a little bit. As Christians and followers of Jesus, we're called, you and me are called to reflect that same beauty as we've had people in our own lives. There are very specific ways that we can reflect God's beauty. The first one, we reflect God's beauty through the love of others. It's beautiful when you love other people, when you show them unconditional love, when you bless people in the name of Christ. In John 13:35, it says, Jesus tells his disciples that the world will know his followers by the way that they love one another. So how do you know the people who follow Jesus Christ? Well, it's how they love. It's how they reflect Jesus' beauty. This means that we demonstrate love and kindness and compassion towards others. When we do it, we're reflecting the beauty of Christ and the character of God. We are bringing the divine. We are opening a portal for people to connect to the God of the universe as we have. Another way that we reflect the beauty is in our obedience to God. We don't like that word so much. That's a challenging one because we want to do it our own way most of the time. It's my way. I want to do things my way, not God's way necessarily. And this is where it's so important for us to be, like I talked about earlier, in a deep relationship with the God of the universe, to be filled, like we sang this morning, to be filled by him so that we will be able to be obedient. Because how do you know the heart of God if you're not filled by his Spirit? Right? In Matthew 5:16, one of my favorite verses, Jesus encourages his followers to let their light shine before others so that they may see the good deeds and glorify God. This is another way, by being obedient. And another way to reflect the beauty of God is to pursue justice and the flourishing of people, all people, not just some people, not just the people that we like. It's easy to want to help people flourish, the ones that we like, the ones that are doing things our way, the way that we see fit. It's like, we want these people to flourish. But the reality is, if we're going to reflect the nature of God, we need to see that all mankind can find a way to flourish in truth and in goodness. Not my truth, as the world would tell you today, and we'll get to that in another week, but God's truth, the truth. Micah 6:8, the prophet calls on God's people to act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with their God. And this is a way that we reflect God's beauty. We reflect God's beauty by acting justly. It's easy to want to tweak the scales a little bit, put your thumb on the scale for the people that you like, or the ones that you want to come out, the outcome that you want to see happen. But that's not just. We're supposed to act justly, and we're to love mercy. We're to walk humbly with God. This means that we work to seek justice and combat oppression and inequality where we see it. This is hard, especially when words in our culture start getting twisted to mean different things. When inequality or equality means not necessarily equality, but we want to put the thumb on our scale so that our people come out on top. That's not equality. These words have been hijacked in our culture, many of them. And you can tell because the outcome, the output, doesn't look beautiful, does it? It looks slanted. It looks like somebody's getting slighted, and it doesn't seem equal on the other end. You know, I'm using these words, and I know these words like justice and oppression and equality can trigger us in this day because we've seen them hijacked in many ways. But today I want you to know I'm using them in a traditional text. I'm using them in a traditional way. We want to see true equality that would look equal to the God of the universe for all of his children. But we are called to help those who are oppressed and those who are vulnerable and those who are marginalized. In many ways, that's why we do Royal Family Kids Camp, is to reflect God's beauty and to show his mercy and his kindness to people who have not been able to receive that. But you might be wondering still, how is beauty connected to spirituality? Maybe I haven't made that clear. Psalm 27:4 says this. And the psalmist writes, "One thing I have asked of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all of the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and to inquire in his temple." What he's writing here is that David, the psalmist, is writing that he wants to look upon the beauty of the Lord, because when we look into the beauty of the Lord, the pureness of true beauty will shine through, and we will find truth and goodness wrapped up in beauty, which we'll be talking about in the weeks to come. True beauty can guide us to deep meaning. It can be a guide for us in many ways. At its core, beauty is transcendent because it speaks to something deeper within us, something that we're trying to connect with. It allows us to connect with something beyond our physical world and can make us feel a sense of awe and wonder, the gloriousness of God. Now this leads us to our part. It leads us to our part. As followers of Jesus, we're called to reflect the beauty by demonstrating love for others, by demonstrating obedience to God and the pursuit of justice for all people. I believe that what we're doing as a community, I hope what we're doing in our own lives, is we're seeking to bring beauty and open a portal to the beautiful God of the universe by the way that we live, by the things that we say, by the way that we encourage people, and by the equality that we try to usher in. I believe that what we're doing, as a matter of fact, right here in this park, looks very beautiful to God. I hope, and this is what I've talked with Joel and Chris about so many times, is, you know, we do Sunday Fun Day here one day out of the month. But each and every one of us have opportunity every day of the week, multiple times in the day, to do something that reflects God's beauty, his goodness, and his truth to people who are lost and broken in this world. And that is the desire of our hearts. We don't want to have to continue, not that we don't love what Sunday Fun Day is, but Sunday Fun Day is hopefully just a larger gathering of the microcosm that each and every one of us will be able to present in our neighborhoods and in our workplace and with those who we call friends and those who we even call enemies. The Bible says to love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, to bless them. And that's what we're doing in this park. That's what I love about it. I was telling Janie, I said, this is a transcendent experience, what we're doing here in this park. Why? Because it cuts across all races, right? That ethnicity means nothing at Sunday Fun Day. Socioeconomics, we have rich people and poor people showing up here, breaking bread together. What your belief system is, we have people on the left and the right who are breaking bread and enjoying a time in the park here. It cuts through all of that, because what we've stumbled upon, which I believe has actually just been brought to our attention by the Holy Spirit, and we've been obedient to walk in it. What we've stumbled upon is true equality. Anybody who comes here is equal in the sight of God, and they're experiencing this in the same way. There is no fast pass to get in line for food. If you're rich, you go to the back of the line. If you're poor, you go to the back of the line. If you're a liberal, you go to the back of the line. If you're a conservative, you go to the back of the line. If you're a moderate, you go to the back of the line. If you're white, if you're black, if you're Asian, if you're Hispanic, you go to the back of the line. It's all equal, and everybody gets a piece, but we're all on a level playing field. And the reality is that we don't necessarily know who is who. We're not just attracting one type of person. And in many ways, frustratingly so, the church has been the type of institution that attracts similar types of people. It becomes an echo chamber in many ways in and of itself. And I love what we're doing here in the park because the Bible tells us that God wants nobody to perish, but he's created a banquet. He's created a table for everybody to partake. And I believe that's what we're doing here. We're reflecting God's beauty, his love, and his truth to people right here in the park. Now, the relationships that come from that, man, that's where we have to be obedient. That's where we have to listen to the Holy Spirit. That's where we have to take the time during the rest of the month to encourage that person, send a text message, invite them into other areas and aspects of our lives. This is what's going to look beautiful, is the connections that are made between people, and ultimately how we connect people to God. That's how God's beauty comes in from the heavenlies and is ushered into this tangible world as we represent him in a way that looks true and beautiful to people. I love what we're doing here. I love that this connectedness, I love what God is doing. I love how we're being able to express his love and his kindness and his mercy and his goodness to people right here in the park. So we're going to continue on. Let's pray. Father, you are good. When we look upon you and the aspects of you, we see beauty. We see beauty in our own lives, and we recognize it from where it comes from. It does come from you. Anything that is good in any of our lives, anything that we see as beautiful, has come from you. It's designed by you. It's ushered in by you. It's perfected by you. So God, I pray that we would be connected people. We'd be connected to your beauty and a reflection of that and the source of it in our world, in our lives, in our neighborhoods, and in our relationships, in our families, and with our friends, and even with our enemies and strangers. Lord God, I know you're trying to do something, because you've been doing something ever since you spoke this universe into existence. So we pray that you would continue that effort and that work in and through our lives. Fill us so that we can be used by you. Let us be able to perceive beauty and then to reflect beauty into our world, because beauty is attractive. Beauty adds value. So God, we thank you for what you're doing in our lives. We pray that you would continue to grow each and every one of us as individuals. We pray that we would find avenues of your mercy and avenues of your grace, that we would see you in new ways and be able to tell of your goodness and your beauty to others. We thank you and praise you for what you're doing. We ask all these things in your name. Amen.